Monday morning, May 3rd, and I'm Jim Mayola, and I'm speaking with Judy Jaworek.
Good, yes.
I got it right.
You got it right.
Fantastic. And Judy, you told me that you were originally born in Massachusetts?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And you've been living here in Carroll County for the last couple of years?
Since 2004, so it's been
about 6 years.
6 years now.
Now, and you're one of our quilters.
Yes.
Here at the Mount Airy Senior Center.
Correct.
How long have you been quilting?
Well, almost the 6 years I've been here. I've saw it advertised or listed as an activity, and I started in fairly soon after I moved up here. So
did you do any quilting before you started this? Had you ever done that before?
I had done some. I like to sew or do things with my hands. Knitting, quilting, cross-stitching, sewing. I have done quilting, not so much like this before, but I did make myself a couple of quilts, cross-stitching first and then putting them on, a sheet underneath and batting in between and then quilting 3 layers.
So you're fairly artistic then?
With my hands,
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So have you ever done anything professionally that involves sewing or quilting?
Not professionally, no. I like to do it as a hobby.
Okay. And what kinds of work have you done? You mentioned that you had worked
I was a secretary.
Okay.
I went to Catherine Gibbs Secretarial School in Boston after I finished high school, and I was a secretary in Massachusetts. Then I went down to Penn State and worked at a research lab there as a secretary, and then I met my husband there, and I continued to work until he got his degrees, his master's and his PhD, and then we moved to Ohio, and I stopped working, and we had a family. Then he changed jobs eventually to work with a consulting firm in D.C., so we moved to Bethesda. And then, unfortunately, he had manic depression, and we had some problems there, and ultimately he died. I moved to Gaithersburg, but before I moved to Gaithersburg, I had gone back to work because we needed money, and so I went to NIH to work as a secretary still in a research lab, and then I stayed with NIH from 1971 until 1997, and so that I'm a
you've been
secretary.
Living here since 2000.
Well, I moved here in 2004. Okay. I have a daughter in Damascus and a grandson, and it was closer to be up here than trucking up from Gaithersburg.
I
and
understand.
I like the idea of being in a senior community where I would be with contemporaries. So.
How do you like living in Carroll County? How do you like Mount Airy?
I am enjoying Mount Airy very much. I like the small town. I grew up in a small town, and I like the atmosphere, and I like the rural aspect of it as opposed to a larger city. You can get to know people, and I've gotten active in church, and so I get to know people and feel part of the community.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you like the senior center here?
Yes, I do. Very much. I don't probably utilize it as much as some people do. I don't come up for lunch, but I come to quilts, and there's an exercise class here, and there's a bridge group that's here, and I'm just glad it's here. I probably don't utilize it as much as some. I volunteer in the community in various ways, so I keep myself pretty busy.
It's nice to have this facility here, isn't it?
It is,
really
yes.
Is, yes. What kind of volunteer work do you do, Judy?
Well, I volunteer here by teaching a bridge class. I volunteer at the church once a week in the morning. I volunteer at a local elementary school as a reading buddy for 2nd or 3rd graders. I do that once a week.
That must be a lot of fun.
I enjoy that. And what else do I do? The school and the church and here. I guess Probably that's about it.
Now, you say you told me you grew up in Massachusetts.
Right.
A little town?
Yes, the town is called Gardner, and it was a furniture manufacturing town.
Okay.
A lot of Swedish and Finnish and French Canadian, a lot of different nationalities and Italian in the town, but it was a furniture manufacturing town at that point. My dad was a lawyer and then became the district judge. My mother had been the librarian in town. She used to be a secretary too. And I have one sister. She's still in New England. She's up in New Hampshire.
Okay.
But yes, it was a small town like this.
So
Hilly also.
Was it?
I always said that Gardner was, it was like it was built like Rome on 7 hills.
No kidding. So
we were used to the snow and the skiing and the skating and the, we had good conditions for that too.
Now, we just had 4 feet of snow last winter. I guess that wasn't unusual for you from Massachusetts.
No.
Tell me about the winters.
Well, the one thing I can remember, we lived, as I said, the town was very hilly. We lived on very close to the top of one of the hills, and you went up a hill, took a 90-degree angle up to the top of where we lived. When it got to be real bad, my dad had some snowshoes, and he was by then in the courthouse, and so the policeman would drive up to the bottom of our hill, and Dad would snowshoe down, and the policeman then would drive him on down to the courthouse.
No kidding. How did he get home?
I snowshoed back up, I guess.
Wow.
Or maybe they had plowed the road by then. I honestly don't remember the coming home. I remember the going down.
That's so interesting. Now, as a child, what did you do in the winter? What kind of things did you do?
Well, of course,
for fun?
we could ski and ice skate. And also, I can remember back in those days, your school bag was a canvas cloth bag. And my sister and I would sit on our school bags and slide down the hill. So Mother had to keep getting us new school bags because we were wearing the school bags out. We didn't sled down. We slid down on, we didn't use sleds for some reason. We slid down on it. But I don't recall that it hampered us in any way. And also, I can remember when I was in elementary school, we didn't live up on the hill then. You walked home, you walked to school, and you walked home. You walked home for lunch. You didn't eat lunch at school. You came home for lunch and then went back.
Okay.
And I don't think we started eating at school. I don't remember that I ever ate at school. I always went home for lunch.
Now, about what time would this be? What year? Could you recall when you started school?
Well, it would be in the late 30s. I was born in 31, so late 30s, early 40s. I graduated from high school in 49. So late 30s, early 40s.
And how about in the summertime? What did you do in the summer?
Oh, well, in the summertime, we were not very far from a lake in New Hampshire. We were quite near the New Hampshire line. And there's a lovely lake. Well, there were lots of lakes, but there was a lake up there. And it had a lodge that a lot of the families in Gardner went together and bought the lodge. And so if you were a member, you and your family, or your family, could go up there any time, and we could stay overnight if we wanted to. It had kitchen facilities. It didn't have bathroom facilities. It was a outhouse that you had to go to the bathroom. But we could go up there it was close enough to drive up on a Saturday or a Sunday and just spend a couple of hours and then go back home. But then several families would get together and go up for a week. Maybe 4 or 5 families at one time would be up there for a week together. There was a big dormitory building over the dining room. The dining room was long. It was even longer than this room. And there was a dormitory above it where we kids could sleep on cots, and then there were regular bedrooms on the other end. And we'd fish and we'd boat, and there was a raft. You could swim out to the raft. They had canoes, and my dad had an outboard motor boat, and he'd get my sister and I to, let's see, we didn't have the motor on the boat because he got us to row for a while so he could troll. I mean, he'd be in the back end of the boat with his fishing pole, and my sister and I were rowing. But there was a lot to do up at the lake, and we could get there in, half an hour and spend the day and then go back home.
About how old were you then? Were you a teenager?
Well, probably, but I think we went up when I was smaller, younger, and there was a Boy Scout camp, but right outside of Gardner, and but the Girl Scouts could use the camp for a couple of weeks, and I went to Scout camp starting when I was a brownie, and going all the way up. I learned how to sail a boat, catfish, at the camp, and so there was a lot. Well, they had a swimming pool in town, so I had learned to swim at the swimming pool, I think, the indoor pool.
So you used to catch fish at the lake?
Yes. And then Dad would
cook them up?
Fillet them, and we'd eat them. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, were you living there during World War II?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that experience? What was it like during the war?
I can remember the blackouts because my dad was one of the people who would go around making sure people had their shades drawn or the lights out. And I can remember the celebrations that we had for VE Day and VJ Day in particular, because I got brought home from camp and we sat out on our front porch and hit pots and pans and made noises.
Sure.
I don't really remember. Other than there was food. You were limited in how much you could buy of any certain thing.
You had rationing.
You were rationed. I can remember that part. I don't remember. And I did not. I had 2 cousins, or 3 cousins that went into the service. I didn't have any brothers. My dad had missed the First World War, and he was too old for the Second World War. He was on the Selective Service Board, but so I didn't have any what I want to say. No relative died, and we didn't mourn that way. I don't remember.
It was hard to get gasoline and sugar and things.
That sort of things, but that was more something my mom and dad were concerned with, and I wasn't old enough to. I didn't really worry about that or think that much about it because I wasn't the one who bought them.
And it didn't make much of a difference then. You got.
I don't recall because you walked everywhere. You didn't need a car to get downtown to shop or that sort of thing. Yeah. You could walk to church. So I wasn't old enough, I guess, to really feel the pinch as much as my parents probably did. Yeah. And my dad had a victory garden out back. I remember growing vegetables and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, tell me about the town. You went shopping in the town.
There was a downtown. And my mother would not let my sister and I go anywhere in jeans. Well, they didn't really have jeans back then, but slacks or shorts. We always had to wear a skirt or a dress, and my mom always did. She was always in a house dress.
Sure.
But we could go downtown, as we used to say, to do the shopping. Most of the stores were pretty much all in one area. There weren't shopping malls. So that the shopping area was pretty much one downtown section. What was your favorite store? Goodnow Pearson's, and I don't remember. They were what's the word I want? A general merchandise store, and they would have clothes, but they had household items as well.
And why would it be your favorite?
Well, it's the only one I kind of remember, other than the Priscillas candy shop. There was a homemade candy store. Okay. And Priscillas was good. But I don't know why. I guess it's a name that... I didn't go shopping a lot. My mother did not take us shopping. the way they do now, and you go to the malls. No, so I still am not a shopper. I go for what I need, but I don't go to entertain myself, just wandering around stores seeing what's there. That doesn't appeal to me. So we didn't go, and as Lucille said, my mother used to draw our feet, and then she'd go off to Boston with her mother on the train, and they'd buy my mother bought my clothes and my shoes without me being there. So I didn't do a whole lot of shopping.
So she would take your measurements, and she would know what your size was.
Exactly. Yeah. And what was some of the stores? Best and Company was one store in Boston, and there was another one, and I can't come up with a name at the moment. But she had some favorite stores in Boston. And
so she'd catch the train.
She'd take the train. Sometimes she'd go with her mother, and she'd do the shopping. So I never went. But I did learn to make, Mother did teach me how to sew and how to knit. And I can remember making a dress for myself when I was graduating from the 8th grade, and we had a ceremony. I had a dress that I'd made for me.
No kidding. Yeah. Wow.
So,
how old were you then?
Well, if it's 8th grade, 12, 14, 13, 14, somewhere in there, I would think.
Okay. Wow, that's great. How long was the trip to Boston by train?
We were 60 miles out of Boston, so...
So it was an all-day...
It was an all-day trek,
right.
Yes.
Did you ever go?
Yes. Not very often, although my dad was a big Red Sox fan, and I remember he took us to Boston to a Red Sox game one time.
No kidding.
We were always listening to them on the radio, but he did take us to Boston, and there was a hotel called the Parker House, and Dad loved the Parker House rolls. I can remember Parker House rolls for some strange reason. But I didn't go to Boston too often, but then I went away to school, to girls' private school, my senior year in high school. I haven't yet figured out why they sent me just 1 year, except for some reason they didn't think I was being challenged enough in high school, and my mother had worked at that school, and it's down in Natick, near Wellesley. So when I was at that school, first I was a student, then I went back and worked there. I did get into Boston some, to the theater. I saw South Pacific when it was on a trial run. Before it made it to Broadway, it came to Boston, and Mary Martin and Ainsley Opinza were in it.
That must have been wonderful.
Saw that.
Yeah.
And there was something else that I think we saw. Did we see, there was something else, and I can, Annie Gets You, Oklahoma. I think we saw Oklahoma in Boston, too.
You mentioned that you used to listen to the Red Sox games on the radio. Now, this is before television.
Exactly.
Yeah, so radio was your entertainment.
Yes, it was. Fibber McGee and Molly. And
great show.
we did get a TV, finally, but it wasn't color. And we were one of the last families, I think, to get it. But yes, no, everything was radio.
Yeah. And so you listened to radio shows in the evening, and that was your entertainment, the family entertainment. What were some of the shows? You mentioned Fibber McGee.
Well, I can't remember in the ball game. We read a lot. I remember I liked to read, and I read a lot. I don't remember, other than listening to the ball game, because my dad wanted to hear the ball game, I don't remember, well, Jack Benny, and I honestly don't remember that much about an entire evening of just listening to the radio.
Right. And when you finally did get a television set, I don't imagine you had very many channels.
No, I don't remember that much about it, to tell the honest truth. I was a Girl Scout, too, and I learned to knit and to make squares for Afghans for the boys in the service, and then we would knit sweaters for the boys in the service too. And so we had lots to do, and we used to play out, to kick the can, and what else did we play out after dinner? There'd be a neighborhood get-together of kids playing games outside, hide and seek and stuff.
And you say when you came to Mount Airy, you found it very similar to
small town feeling, yes, and I like that. You get to know people in the grocery store. You get to know, you make friends in church, and then you see them in town. People at the bank, and you get to know people, and they know who you are, and I like that.
It's nice to live in a friendly community.
It is.
It really is. Yes. Well, Judy, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak to me today.
Well, you're certainly very welcome.
Yes, you're a very interesting person. It was really a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.